Guys, like, comment, subscribe, share the video, especially if you love college football as much as I do. Yeah, I do think Notre Dame will be a really good football team in 2023. Their schedule, they have three games that they may lose at worst: USC, Clemson, and Ohio State. Now, I've already talked about Notre Dame. I think they do go 9-3. I think they lose to, or was it 10-2? I don't remember. I made that video months ago. I do think they lose to Clemson in a rematch at Clemson, and I think they'll probably lose to USC. But everybody else is beatable. And I say Ohio State's beatable because Ohio State's main issue has been the line of scrimmage against other teams that are real physical up front, like Michigan. So Notre Dame reminds me a lot of Michigan in terms of the line of scrimmage, up in the trenches. They give a lot of teams problems, and they're a really, really strong, powerful football team. And the fact that they have Sam Hartman playing quarterback, that's going to be a huge boost for Notre Dame. I just hope they don't become one-dimensional offensively, like just throwing the football everywhere. I hope they run the ball a lot still. That way they're still a balanced offense, and I guess throw a little bit more and become more reliable throwing the football with a pretty mobile quarterback like Sam Hartman, because he can run too. Defensively, I think they'll be about the same. Maybe a little bit of a drop back. They did lose a few players defensively, quite a few actually, to the draft. But Notre Dame is Notre Dame. They've always got smash mouth defensive linemen. They've always got good linebacker play. And again, they haven't been elite in terms of the skill position like receivers, corners, and anything like that. But they've been good players. So I do think Notre Dame will take a big step forward compared to last year, losing to the likes of Marshall and Stanford. They should win at least 10 games this year. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs or not, but I do think they're good enough to beat one of the three teams that I've talked about, teams like Clemson, USC, and Ohio State. The reason why I doubt they beat Clemson in a rematch is because this game's in Death Valley. It's harder to win over there. And outside of South Carolina, nobody's beaten them in Death Valley since 2016. So that tells you a lot, I doubt they beat USC. I do think they can slow down Caleb Williams to the chance where they have a chance to win the game, but I don't think they'll beat USC, even if it's at home for them. Maybe they can win that game if it's at home, but I don't know. I do think they'll beat Ohio State at home this year. I just don't feel good about Ohio State, not because I like Michigan so much. That doesn't really matter in this video. What matters is Ohio State lost some offensive linemen. The offensive line was already kind of an issue when they played good defensive fronts. Again, like Michigan, like Georgia, they had a hard time protecting C.J. Stroud in those games for 4 quarters. And now that you've lost some offensive linemen, it's going to be really hard early in the year to establish that protection for whoever your quarterback is going to be. You do have Marvin Harrison, but defensively the defense has struggled too. They struggled to finish tackles. One of the plays that Michigan had last year on the touchdown pass, the first touchdown they had, was because some guy didn't make his tackle. 2 guys tried to tackle one receiver, and they could not bring him down. That play might have been 4th down and 1 or barely a first down. It should have never gone for a touchdown like it did. And the 2 touchdown runs that Michigan did have late shouldn't have happened either if it was a good defense doing their job and making tackles like they need to. So that's a big problem for me. I don't think Ryan Day is going to change up a whole lot, given that most of his team is still there. He's probably going to keep doing what he's doing with the pass-heavy offense, run the football sometimes, rely on his electric playmakers on offense. I know Jim Knowles is there, but he's not the head coach, unfortunately, and he's told to prepare his guys a certain way. What plays to call to an extent because he's not the head coach. So I wouldn't blame Jim Knowles. I mean, the defense could be a lot better. It wasn't much better last year. It didn't show up in the big games like Michigan and Georgia. Even Penn State. Penn State had some success getting points on Ohio State's defense last year. So I think they can beat Ohio State at home. I really do. I think they're a more physical team than Ohio State. They really did not have much of an offense last year against Ohio State in their house, and they held them to 21 points for the whole game. And the only reason Ohio State had those last 2 touchdowns is because Notre Dame's offense couldn't do anything, and they kept having to punt the ball, to where Ohio State eventually would pull away. So that's my opinion on that. And Notre Dame's defense might not be as good. It should be close to what it was because all the players play about the same for Notre Dame. Heck, I don't even know their depth chart like that. I remember in 2020 they had the playoffs. They had a pretty good defense for the most part. 2021 they played Florida State in their first game, and the defense was already pretty good, and it just progressively got better. By week 4, week 5, whenever they play Ohio State, I think it's week 4 at home, they'll be a lot better. They'll have settled in. They'll have had some game experience, and because they're at home, that's going to be a huge home field advantage. And plus, I noticed Notre Dame doesn't lose to anybody at home in big games. Usually they don't. So that's why I think that they'll beat Ohio State. They could have won 11 or 12 games. It's very possible. But I think they'll be a lot better than what they were last year. That's for sure. Not just because of Sam Hartman, but the team as a whole. And the fact that Marcus Freeman is going to have a whole year of experience and 2 bowl games. Because remember, he coached the Oklahoma State game in his first game. He's going to have all that experience under his belt because I think he's a legit coach. But yeah, I think they'll be a lot better.